have you ever felt that pang of, well, maybe a little less than when you see someone else kind of killing it,
Yeah.
or that worry that creeps in when you're afraid of losing something or someone you really care about?
Yeah, it's like a really human thing, right?
It is. It's super common. So today we're going to deep dive into all that, those feelings of jealousy, wanting what others have, and how we can actually shift towards, feeling truly content.
Right.
And gratitude is a big part of that. We've got some really interesting research and perspectives to share.
Absolutely.
So our goal is to give you some practical tools, ways to deal with these emotions in a healthy way.
Right, because they can be so powerful.
Yeah.
It might be helpful to start by kind of unpacking the difference between jealousy and envy. So like envy is that pretty straightforward desire for something someone else has.
Okay.
But jealousy, it's more complex. It's got this fear of losing something you already value.
Hmm.
And often there's this third person, whether they're actually a threat or just in your head.
Like a triangle, right?
Exactly. You, the thing you care about, and that perceived rival.
Right. So jealousy has that fear of loss baked in. Our sources also talk about, the different ways jealousy kind of shows up. Sometimes it's suspicious, like a lot of what ifs, and maybe driven by insecurities.
Mhm.
And other times it's reactive, like a direct response to a real threat.
Mm.
And the emotions that come with all of this, the insecurity, the fear, even anger and loneliness, it can be rough.
Oh, for sure. It's not easy to deal with. And it's important to remember, these feelings don't just appear out of nowhere. They often have these specific triggers, like on a personal level. Things like low self-esteem, or if someone's had like a history of abandonment, maybe from childhood or past relationships.
I can see how that would make someone more prone to jealousy.
Absolutely. And then you add in things like possessiveness.
Yeah.
You're always overthinking things, having these unrealistic expectations in relationships. Or if communication and trust are shaky, or just life stress in general.
Right. Or even just certain attachment styles, like people who are more anxious in relationships.
Exactly. That need for reassurance can sometimes manifest as jealousy. And then there's this sense of like perceived injustice, feeling like you're not getting what you deserve.
Mm-hmm. Or maybe having unfulfilled desires, like constantly focused on what you lack instead of what you have. And our sources talk about hyperfixation on shortcomings, which is really interesting.
That can definitely fuel those jealous feelings. And then on top of all that personal stuff, you've got the whole social context, right?
Right. It's not just us in a vacuum.
Exactly. Social comparison theory really highlights how we're constantly measuring ourselves against others.
And social media, let's be real, that's like comparison on steroids.
It's curated reality times 1,000.
Totally. And I think feeling undervalued or overlooked, whether it's socially or at work, can also stir up these jealous feelings.
For sure. It's like a threat to our sense of worth.
Yeah. And what's interesting is our sources really emphasize the impact of all these feelings. Like, jealousy isn't just a fleeting annoyance. It can really mess with our mental well-being.
Oh, absolutely.
It can feed anxiety, insecurity, and even lead to self-sabotage. And in relationships,
How about that?
it can wreck trust, lead to huge conflicts, and sadly, can even be a major factor in breakups.
It's a relationship killer for sure.
It is. And then there are these mental shortcuts, these cognitive biases that our sources highlight as kind of fueling jealousy. That upward spiral of inadequacy from social comparison, that one really resonates with me. It's like we're constantly looking up at what others have and feeling less than.
Yeah, and it's almost like our brains are wired to do that, like a lot.
Yeah.
Up to 10% of our thoughts can be spent comparing ourselves to others.
Wow. And then our sources differentiate between like envy, that I wish I had that feeling, and scorn, that more bitter, you don't deserve that feeling. It's a subtle difference, but it's important.
Definitely. Envy can actually motivate us to improve, to strive for something better, but scorn is just toxic.
Totally. And then there's that link between envy and feeling down on yourself that really makes sense.
It's that downward spiral.
It is. And then there's this other bias, negativity bias, that our brains tend to latch onto negative information more. So if you're already feeling jealous, you might hyper-focus on any perceived threat, no matter how small.
Yeah, it's like our brains are Velcro for negative thoughts, but Teflon for positive ones.
Oh, that's a good one. And we also tend to remember negative experiences way more vividly. And that internal negative self-talk, all those I'm not good enough thoughts, just amplify those feelings of suspicion and doubt.
It's a vicious cycle.
It is. So we know what we're dealing with, right? We've got jealousy, we've got these cognitive biases, but what can we actually do to like dial down the jealousy and actually start feeling good?
Well, good news is there are a bunch of things we can do.
Oh, okay.
Our sources talk about cognitive restructuring, which is basically changing how we think about things. That's a great starting point.
Okay, so like recognizing those negative thought patterns, right?
Yeah.
Like always assuming the worst or thinking in absolutes.
Exactly. The first step is just noticing those patterns. And then you can start questioning them. Like, what's the actual evidence for this thought? Are there other ways to look at the situation? Can I reframe it more positively?
So like challenging those automatic negative thoughts.
Exactly. And developing this ability to, like, observe your thoughts without getting totally swept away by them is huge.
Ah,
Even setting aside specific time to worry about the things you're jealous of can sometimes help. It's like containing the worry.
okay, that's interesting. Like giving your jealousy a time slot. And then, of course, there's mindfulness, bringing your attention to the present moment.
Yes. Mindfulness is so powerful.
So when those jealous feelings come up, you try to just notice them without judgment, you know? Maybe focus on your breath or what you're feeling physically.
Right. It creates this space between the emotion and how you react to it. It gives you that pause button.
It does. Okay. And then we shift gears. We start cultivating gratitude.
And our sources are very clear about the benefits here. Gratitude is linked to increased happiness, better sleep, less stress, even stronger relationship.
It's like slipping a switch in your brain, right?
Kinda, yeah. Instead of focusing on what you don't have, you're focusing on what you do have.
What you're grateful for. And there are like actual concrete ways to build this gratitude muscle.
Absolutely, like keeping a gratitude journal.
Right. Writing down what you're grateful for.
Or making a conscious effort to express appreciation to others.
Yes. Or savoring positive experiences, really taking them in. Our sources talk about this 3 blessings exercise where you reflect on 3 good things that happened each day.
That's a good one. Even when you feel that twinge of jealousy, consciously thinking about what you're grateful for in that moment can be super powerful.
It's like an antidote.
It is like retraining your brain.
Exactly. And what's really fascinating is how gratitude ties into how we feel about ourselves. Like low self-esteem can really make us more vulnerable to jealousy, and then the jealousy itself can chip away at our self-worth. It's like a double whammy.
It is. So building that inner confidence, recognizing your strengths, challenging that negative self-talk, setting small achievable goals for yourself, those are all key.
So important.
And then truly accepting yourself, imperfections and all, that's where the magic happens.
Yeah, self-acceptance is huge. And it seems like a big part of this is shifting our focus away from constantly needing approval from others and finding that sense of worth inside ourselves. Like relying too much on external validation can be a trap.
It can. And that's where internal validation comes in.
Okay.
That satisfaction that comes from living in alignment with your own values, finding contentment in your own personal growth, regardless of what other people think. It's about cultivating that positive internal voice and not needing to compare yourself all the time.
And it seems like self-compassion plays a big role here too.
Oh, for sure.
Like treating yourself with the same kindness and understanding that you'd offer a friend who's going through something hard,
Yeah.
especially when you're dealing with these tough emotions.
Yeah, self-compassion helps quiet that harsh inner critic, and it takes the sting out of comparing yourself to others. It's about recognizing that we all struggle sometimes and being gentle with yourself in those moments.
And our sources highlight those 3 core components of self-compassion, right? Self-kindness, that sense of common humanity that we're all in this together, and mindfulness.
Yeah, and even just noticing when you're being hard on yourself and choosing a kinder internal response can make a huge difference.
So it sounds like this journey of overcoming jealousy and cultivating gratitude, it's not like a one-and-done thing.
Yeah.
It's ongoing. But we have these tools, understanding our triggers, practicing gratitude, cultivating self-compassion.
They're like guideposts, helping us find our way.
They are. It takes practice and patience, right?
Absolutely. It's a commitment to showing up for yourself.
It is. So I want you to think about this. Imagine shifting that internal dialogue from focusing on what you lack and how you measure up to others to one of appreciating what you have and accepting yourself as you are. How would that change things? Not just your relationships, but how you experience the whole world. What's one small act of self-compassion you can give yourself today?
That's a great question to ponder.
It is. All right, that's our deep dive for today. We hope this has given you some helpful food for thought. Until next time, take care.